What is up, Fackers? We are back with our Fantasy and Chill 101, counting down the top 101 fantasy football players for the 2020 fantasy football season. We are on to number 96 overall, which is quarterback of the New York Giants, Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is our ninth ranked quarterback for this season. Last year, he finished as quarterback number 23. His stats last year: 3,027 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Also had 45 carries for 279 yards and 2 touchdowns. That comes out to 222.98 fantasy points, an average of 17.2 points per game. All right, so you might be thinking, okay, that's a little high for Daniel Jones. Well, remember, these are my rankings, and I am feeling a
True.
big year for my boy, Danny Dimes, this year. I'm all in on the Giants
I'll
offense.
say not just
Uh,
Danny Dimes, but the
yeah,
entire Giants
I'm probably
offense as a
high on the
whole.
entire Giants offense. Probably a bad move on my part, but I'm feeling it, okay? So a couple things about Daniel Jones last year real quick. Remember, he only started 12 games. Eli Manning started 4 of them. Daniel Jones replaced him in that 4th game or 3rd game, I believe, but he started a total of 12 games. All right, we just talked about how I'm high on the Giants offense this year. Let's go through these weapons that Daniel Jones has to throw to. Saquon's catching the ball out of the backfield. His receivers, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, and Golden Tate. A very solid, um, stable of receivers there, for lack of a better word. And then he's got the tight end Evan Ingram, who we know, if he can stay healthy, has proven to be a very hot commodity there at tight end. And then last thing for Daniel Jones, the big thing that kind of puts him ahead of these other guys in this tier, his rushing potential. He showed us last year he can move a little bit. He had almost 300 rushing yards, a couple touchdowns. I expect that to go up this year as well. So
Yeah.
all in all, I'm expecting a big season from Daniel Jones this year.
You kind of hoping he becomes a Josh Allen type this year?
I'd say that's kind of the mold that he fits into.
Because
Big arm, but he's got the rushing potential to kind of give him that low floor. I mean, high floor. High floor.
yeah, you don't want low floors in
Yeah,
fantasy
high floor.
football.
He's got a high floor.
Yeah, because he started off last year. Like he had 2 touchdowns in his basically his first game starting rushing, but after that he never got another rushing touchdown, which is kind of surprising. But you saw, like you said, the potential for him to have, these big rushing kind of games that'll give him that high floor. So
Right.
I just picture Josh Allen because Josh Allen, sometimes he won't get you a lot of rushing yards, but near the red zone, it seems like they always try to give him the ball and have him make the decisions whether he wants to rush it. So I could see Daniel Jones being that.
Yeah, and we talk about, he had the 2 touchdowns his first game, but he had almost 300 rushing yards, which for this type of quarterback is a lot. I mean, if you think about that spread over the course of the season, that's just an extra 2 or 3 points each game that these other quarterbacks aren't really getting in this kind of style.
Yeah,
Um,
this was kind of a guy too. If you listen to our I think it was our Aaron Rodgers and our Tom Brady player profiles, we were saying like a type of guy you could pair with those guys if you drafted those late in the draft that might blow up later in the season. They can start plugging in and playing, or just right off the bat. And I think this, for you at least, this might be your guy. Maybe I try to slip in there and grab him before you do. I don't know.
yeah, because like I said, he is my ninth ranked quarterback. But if you're just going by just consensus overall rankings across the board, no matter who you pay attention to in fantasy, who else you look at, he's probably going to be lower than this. So what that means is that he's not really projected as, if you play a 10 team or 12 team league, he's probably not projected as a top 10 or 12 guy that's a starter. So what we're
Yeah,
saying is you grab one of those late guys in that top 10 to 12 range and then pair him with a guy like this, like Daniel Jones. So then if he does blow up and becomes kind of that fantasy guy that I think he can be, then you have a trade weapon in that other quarterback, is how I would go about doing it.
yeah. So yeah, I looked up his ADP currently right now. I mean, this is what, April, so it could change dramatically by the time we start drafting. But he's the number 14th QB on ESPN being drafted. and number 129 overall.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a guy you can grab late, and you might not even go for one of those stable quarterbacks. You might just roll the dice with him, and I don't think he'll be that bad for you to just roll the dice with. Like if he doesn't perform, then you just drop him and pick up a guy like Tua maybe if he starts getting the starting job, or even Joe Burrow if he performs well. But
Right. So with that kind of ranking, like Matt's saying, I feel strongly enough that he can be your everyday starter from week one. So that just leaves a couple more rounds where you're grabbing extra running backs and wide receivers when everybody else starts taking quarterbacks. So I really like him as a guy to target late in the draft this year.
yeah, you're starting to convince me now. I think I'm gonna try to sneak in and grab him.
Yeah,
This
he's
could
mine.
could be all mind games though. You never know. So would
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have him over like Tua then. Well, you have him as number 9 overall. So
Yeah, the guys ahead of him are just the guys that the big time fantasy quarterbacks. As far as all those I don't have any of those rookies really anywhere close right now. I mean, we can talk about the rookies a little bit here. We know the draft just happened, but Tua, we don't even know if he's going to be starting because of
right,
the hip. Joe Burrow, I mean, I like I like rookies that can provide a little rushing upside. And
and with
Joe Burrow can
yeah.
move some, but I mean, that Bengals I mean, I just don't really know what to expect yet. There's too many other good quarterbacks to go ahead and take a chance on one of those rookies, I feel like.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find like a QB like around his range where you'd have a tough decision picking. But I can't really. Would you have Josh Allen above him? Since we already talked about Josh Allen.
Yeah, I have Josh Allen above him.
What about?
If you're trying to think of like a comp guy, maybe like a Carson
I was
Wentz,
gonna say
something like
Wentz.
that.
Yeah,
I personally like Daniel Jones' upside better,
yeah,
but Carson Wentz is very solid. He's got a lot of I mean, they just drafted him some weapons too, so
yeah. That's the thing. This is an upside guy, not a stable. Well, I guess we talked about his stable four he could potentially have, but he's not one of those like Ben Roethlisberger's, Matt Stafford's, all those run of the mill guys that you can get. But yeah,
right, because we talked about what he did last year. If you look at his games that he had last year, I think he had what 3 games over 30 points.
one, two, yeah, 3 games.
So that means though that those other games were not as good. Okay, because his
Yeah,
average was 17 points. So to kind of average that out to 17 means he had some clunkers in there too. So look
yeah,
for him to kind of right the ship in that area with the potential to still have those 30-point games.
yeah. I definitely agree with that one. And you don't have to worry about Eli in his head anymore. So
Right. Eli's gone. No more. No more of that game.
no more. All right, that should do it for Daniel Dimes, Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. Just to wrap it up, our 9th-ranked quarterback and our 96th player overall for 2020 fantasy football. We out.
We out.